Did you know that your favorite Walmart snack is banned in Japan? I'm not talking about some weird exotic food. I'm talking about Little Debbie Swiss rolls, that chocolate cake with creamy filling that millions of American kids eat every single day. Japan looked at this snack and said absolutely not. Norway banned it. Austria banned it. And when you hear what's actually inside these innocent-looking rolls, you're going to freak out. We're talking about 32 milligrams of chemicals per serving that scientists have linked to hyperactivity, ADHD, and even potential cancer risks in children. But here in America, we're feeding them to our kids in lunchboxes like candy. Listen, before Walmart tries to take this video down, hit that like button right now and smash subscribe because what I'm about to expose could change the way you shop forever. Drop a comment if you've ever eaten Swiss rolls, because trust me, you need to hear this. Now, let's talk about what Japan knows that we don't. Picture this. You're in Tokyo, walking through one of their pristine supermarkets. Everything is organized, clean, and carefully regulated. You decide you want a taste of home, so you look for Little Debbie Swiss rolls. But here's the crazy part. You won't find them. Not a single box. Why? Because Japan's Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare has deemed them too dangerous for their population. But wait, it gets even more interesting. I spent the last week digging through international food safety reports, and what I discovered is absolutely mind-blowing. Japan isn't alone in this. Norway banned them. Austria said no way. And the entire European Union requires giant warning labels on similar products. We're talking about massive red flags that basically scream, "Warning, may harm children." Let me share something that honestly shocked me. According to recent data from the FDA that the Center for Science in the Public Interest obtained, one serving of Little Debbie Swiss rolls contains a combined 32 milligrams of yellow 5, red 40, and blue 1. Now, you might be thinking, so what? It's just food coloring. But here's where things get scary. Clinical trials, real scientific studies with real children have shown that consuming that amount of artificial food dye can trigger adverse behavioral reactions. I'm talking about hyperactivity, attention problems, and mood swings. Some researchers are even linking these dyes to ADHD diagnoses in young children. Here's the part that made me angry. Companies have known about this for years. In fact, Mars Inc., the company behind M&Ms, just announced in early 2025 that they're removing all artificial dyes from their products. You know why? Because over 217,000 people signed a petition demanding it. But Little Debbie? They're still using the same formula they've been using for decades. And here's what really gets me. These same companies make different versions of their products for European customers because European law requires it. Let me say that again. They can make these products without harmful dyes. They just choose not to here in America. I actually found something fascinating while researching this. Hostess Ho-Hos, which look almost identical to Little Debbie Swiss rolls, are made completely without synthetic food dyes. If Hostess can do it, why can't Little Debbie? The answer might surprise you, and it's not pretty. Let's break down exactly what's in these rolls. First up, yellow 5. This dye has been shown in multiple studies to damage white blood cells. Think about that for a second. We're talking about your immune system, the thing that keeps you healthy and fights off disease. And we're putting something in our children's snacks that could potentially harm it. Then there's red 40. Recent research has found a possible link between red 40 consumption and ADHD diagnoses in children. A study that came out just last year showed that children who consumed higher amounts of red 40 showed significantly more hyperactive behavior than those who didn't. And don't even get me started on blue 1. While Europe has lifted bans on blue 1 in most countries, Norway is still holding strong, saying absolutely not to this artificial dye. But here's what nobody talks about. It's not just the individual dyes that are concerning, it's the combination. When you mix yellow 5, red 40, and blue 1 together, scientists don't fully understand what happens in the human body. We're essentially running a massive uncontrolled experiment on millions of American children. Now, let me tell you about Japan's food philosophy. I interviewed a food safety expert who lived in Japan for 15 years, and she told me something that completely changed my perspective. In Japan, she said, the philosophy is simple. If there's even a question about whether something might be harmful, they don't use it. Period. No debate, no lobbying, no exceptions. Compare that to America, where the FDA operates on what they call generally recognized as safe, or GRAS. Sounds official, right? But here's the kicker. Under the GRAS loophole, food and chemical companies can actually determine for themselves whether their ingredients are safe. Let that sink in. The companies making money from these products are the ones deciding if they're safe. According to research from the Environmental Working Group, almost 99% of food chemicals introduced since 2000 were green-lighted for use by food and chemical companies themselves, not properly reviewed by the FDA. That's not food safety, that's just good business for them and terrible for us. Let me share a personal story that drives this home. My friend Sarah has a 7-year-old daughter named Emma. Emma was having serious issues at school, couldn't focus, constantly fidgeting, and her teacher suggested testing for ADHD. Sarah was devastated. She started researching everything, trying to figure out what was going on. Then she discovered something interesting. Emma had been eating Little Debbie Swiss rolls in her lunch every single day for months. Sarah decided to try an experiment. She cut out all artificial food dyes from Emma's diet completely. No more Swiss rolls, no more brightly colored cereals, nothing with red 40, yellow 5, or blue 1. Want to know what happened? Within 2 weeks, Emma's teacher called Sarah. She said, "I don't know what you're doing, but Emma's like a different child." The fidgeting decreased dramatically. Her focus improved, her mood stabilized, all from removing artificial food dyes. Now, I'm not saying this will work for every child, but don't you think parents deserve to know this information? Don't you think there should be warning labels like they have in Europe? Here's where it gets even more concerning. These artificial dyes aren't just in Little Debbie Swiss rolls. They're everywhere. I started checking labels after I learned about this, and I was horrified. Cereals, candies, beverages, baked goods, even things marketed as healthy. Snacks often contain these dyes. Frosted Flakes? Banned in Japan and the EU because of BHT, a preservative with potential carcinogenic properties. Skittles? Heavily restricted in Europe because of yellow 5, yellow 6, and red 40. Mountain Dew? Forbidden in Japan because it contains brominated vegetable oil, the same chemical used in flame retardants. Are you seeing the pattern here? America allows ingredients in our food supply that most developed nations have banned or heavily restricted, and we wonder why we have health problems. Let me show you the difference in regulations. In the European Union, if a product contains certain artificial dyes, it must carry a warning label that states, may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. Can you imagine if that warning appeared on Little Debbie Swiss rolls in American stores? Sales would probably drop overnight. But in America, there's no such requirement. The package just shows happy kids and promises delicious taste. There's zero mention of potential health risks. Zero mention that this product is banned in multiple countries. Zero transparency. I actually reached out to Little Debbie's parent company, McKee Foods Corporation, asking why they don't remove these dyes like other companies are doing. You know what response I got? Nothing. Complete silence. They wouldn't even acknowledge my questions. Here's something that will blow your mind. The cost difference between using artificial dyes versus natural alternatives is minimal. We're talking pennies per package. Companies like Frito-Lay have already removed dyes from Tostitos and Sun Chips. Campbell removed dyes from Goldfish crackers. Kraft removed dyes from mac and cheese. General Mills removed dyes from 75% of their cereals. If these massive corporations can do it and still make profits, why can't Little Debbie? The only conclusion I can draw is that they either don't care or they're worried that changing the formula will affect taste or appearance and hurt sales. But you know what hurts more? Children's health. Let me share some statistics that should concern every parent. According to the CDC, ADHD diagnoses in children have increased by 43% over the past decade. Autism spectrum disorders have increased by 241% since 2000. Childhood obesity rates have tripled since the 1970s. Childhood allergies and asthma are at all-time highs. Now, I'm not saying artificial food dyes are the sole cause of all these problems. That would be oversimplifying complex health issues. But multiple peer-reviewed studies have shown connections between artificial dyes and behavioral problems, particularly in children who are already sensitive or predisposed to these issues. A comprehensive review published in the journal Environmental Health analyzed decades of research on synthetic food dyes. Their conclusion? There's substantial evidence linking artificial food dyes to increased activity and reduced attention in children, even in children without prior ADHD diagnoses. Here's what Japan figured out decades ago. In the 1970s, Japan started phasing out artificial food dyes. They invested in natural alternatives derived from vegetables, fruits, and minerals. Yes, it cost more initially. Yes, it required reformulating products. But you know what happened? Japanese children are among the healthiest in the world. Japan has one of the lowest rates of ADHD, childhood obesity, and behavioral disorders in any developed nation. Is that just a coincidence? Or could their strict food safety standards have something to do with it? I spoke with Dr. Yamamoto, a pediatrician in Tokyo, who told me something profound. He said, "In Japan, we believe prevention is better than treatment. Why would we knowingly expose children to substances that might cause harm, even if that harm isn't 100% proven?" It makes no sense. That philosophy, that simple logic, is why Little Debbie Swiss rolls don't exist in Japan. And honestly, after everything I've learned, I think they're making the right call. Now let's talk about what's actually in these dyes. Yellow 5, also known as tartrazine, is a synthetic lemon yellow dye made from petroleum. Yes, petroleum, the same stuff we put in our cars. It's been linked to allergic reactions, asthma, skin rashes, and potentially even DNA damage in some studies. Red 40, or Allura Red, is also petroleum-based. Studies have found it can cause allergic reactions and hyperactivity. Some research even suggests it might be contaminated with carcinogens, though more research is needed to confirm this. Blue 1, or Brilliant Blue, can cause allergic reactions in some people and has been shown to cross the blood-brain barrier in animal studies. That means it can actually enter the brain tissue. Does that sound like something you want in your kids' snacks? Here's the really frustrating part. Natural alternatives exist and they work beautifully. Beet juice for red coloring, turmeric for yellow, spirulina for blue. These are all natural plant-based options that don't carry health risks. They're used successfully in Europe and Japan. They taste just as good. They look just as appealing. The only downside? They cost slightly more, and they're not quite as stable, meaning they might fade a bit over time. But honestly, would you rather have a slightly less vibrant snack cake or one loaded with potentially harmful chemicals? I tested this myself. I bought some European snack cakes that use natural dyes and compared them to American versions. You know what? I could barely tell the difference. The taste was virtually identical. The color was slightly less intense, sure. But who cares if it means avoiding potential health problems? Let me address something important. Some people might say I'm fear-mongering or being alarmist. They'll say, the FDA approved these dyes, so they must be safe. They'll say millions of people eat these products with no problems. But here's my response to that. First, the FDA approval process has serious flaws, as I mentioned earlier. Second, just because something doesn't cause immediate obvious harm doesn't mean it's safe. We didn't know cigarettes caused cancer for decades because the effects took time to show up. Third, and this is crucial, even if these dyes only affect a small percentage of children, isn't that percentage worth protecting? If your child is sensitive to these dyes and they're causing behavioral problems, does it matter that other kids seem fine? Here's what you need to know about Walmart. Walmart is America's largest grocery retailer. They have enormous power in the food industry. If Walmart decided tomorrow that they won't sell products with artificial dyes, manufacturers would reformulate immediately. Walmart has done this before with other ingredients, but right now, Walmart is choosing profit over health. They stock Little Debbie Swiss rolls prominently in the snack aisle. They run promotions on them. They make them affordable and attractive to families on tight budgets. I'm not blaming Walmart entirely. They're responding to consumer demand and manufacturer supply. But they could be leaders in food safety if they chose to be. They could demand better from their suppliers. They could inform customers about international bans and health concerns. Instead, it's business as usual, and children continue consuming potentially harmful chemicals every single day. Let me tell you what other countries are doing. Norway has banned products containing these dyes completely. Not restricted, not labeled, banned. You cannot buy Little Debbie Swiss rolls in Norway at all. Austria took the same stance. If it contains yellow 5, red 40, or blue 1, it's not allowed in their country. Period. The entire European Union requires warning labels. Imagine picking up a box of Swiss rolls and seeing a label that says, may cause hyperactivity and attention problems in children. Would you still buy it? Would you still pack it in your child's lunch? Australia requires any food with artificial colors to be labeled clearly. They've also banned certain dyes that the US still allows. Canada has stricter regulations than the US, though not as strict as Europe. They're moving toward requiring clearer labeling and considering more restrictions. Even China, which often gets criticized for food safety issues, has banned certain artificial dyes that America still allows. Think about that. China is protecting its children from chemicals we're still feeding ours. Here's what scares me most. This isn't just about one snack cake. It's about a broken food safety system that prioritizes industry profits over public health. It's about a regulatory environment where chemicals are assumed safe until proven dangerous, rather than proven safe before being allowed in food. It's about the fact that American children are essentially guinea pigs in a massive, uncontrolled experiment with artificial chemicals. We won't know the full long-term effects of these dyes for decades. By then, an entire generation will have been exposed. And it's about the inequality of it all. Wealthy families can afford organic snacks without artificial dyes. They shop at Whole Foods and read labels carefully. But working-class families shopping at Walmart, trying to stretch their food budgets, they're the ones most exposed to these chemicals. Little Debbie Swiss rolls are affordable. They're convenient. They make kids happy. For many families, they seem like an easy win. But nobody's telling these families what Japan knows. Nobody's giving them the full picture. Let me give you some practical advice. First, read labels obsessively. Look for anything that says yellow 5, yellow 6, red 40, red 3, blue 1, blue 2, or green 3. These are the main artificial dyes to avoid. Second, look for products specifically labeled no artificial colors or naturally colored. More and more brands are reformulating and advertising this change. Third, consider European brands when possible. If you can afford it, they're often higher quality because of stricter regulations. Fourth, make snacks at home when you can. It's cheaper and healthier. There are tons of recipes online for homemade versions of popular snacks without any artificial ingredients. Fifth, and this is important, don't feel guilty if you've been buying these products. You didn't know. The system failed you, not the other way around. But now that you know, you can make different choices. Here's what needs to change. We need the FDA to update their regulations to match international standards. We need mandatory warning labels on products with artificial dyes. We need funding for independent research into the long-term effects of these chemicals. We need major retailers like Walmart to demand better from their suppliers. We need manufacturers to prioritize health over slightly lower costs. We need transparency and honesty in food labeling. Most importantly, we need American consumers to demand better. That's where you come in. Before we wrap up, let me share one final story. I got an email last week from a viewer named Michael. He told me his son had been diagnosed with ADHD at age 6. They tried medication, which helped somewhat, but had side effects. Then Michael's wife read an article about artificial food dyes and decided to eliminate them completely from their son's diet. Michael said it wasn't easy. His son loved Skittles, Frosted Flakes, and yes, Little Debbie Swiss rolls. The first few weeks were tough, but after a month, Michael noticed something remarkable. His son's teacher reported significant improvements in behavior and focus. His pediatrician reduced his medication dosage. His mood became more stable. Michael wrote, "I can't believe something so simple made such a huge difference. Why didn't anyone tell us about this earlier? Why are these products still on shelves if other countries won't allow them?" Those are excellent questions, Michael. And I wish I had better answers. Here's my challenge to you. Share this video with every parent you know. Post it on your social media. Tag Walmart, tag Little Debbie, tag the FDA. Let them know that consumers are waking up to these issues. Leave a comment below telling me if you're going to stop buying products with artificial dyes. Tell me if you've noticed behavioral changes in your children related to diet. Share your story because your voice matters. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because I'm going to keep investigating these food safety issues. Next week, I'm exposing another popular Walmart product that's banned in multiple countries. You won't want to miss it. And most importantly, check your pantry tonight. Look at the labels on everything. You might be shocked by what you find. Then make informed decisions for your family's health. Remember, Japan banned Little Debbie Swiss rolls for a reason. Norway banned them for a reason. Austria banned them for a reason. Maybe it's time we Americans asked ourselves why we're still eating them. The food industry won't change unless we demand it. Walmart won't change unless we demand it. The FDA won't change unless we demand it. So let's start demanding better. Our children's health depends on it. If you found this video helpful and eye-opening, smash that like button right now. Share it with at least 3 people you care about. And drop a comment telling me, did you know Little Debbie Swiss rolls were banned in Japan? What other foods should I investigate next? Thanks for watching, and remember, stay informed, stay healthy, and never stop questioning what you're putting in your body. I'll see you in the next one.